Okay, I'm Tikumporn Rodkhunmuang. I'm a doctoral student from Faculty of Law, University of Geneva. And I would like to get the inspirations, proposals for last year first. If you have an opportunity to look at the blackboard on the back of the room, it has 7 steps. When I make this proposal, it starts from the global norm on AI, which IHL. The second one, it will be the establishment of the common framework of AI IHL productions. The third one is imposed to the state, and the state has to impose to the AI artificial intelligence industry, and then artificial intelligence industry has to impose that common frameworks to AI or robot designer. And then it will become an AI robot productions with international humanitarian sensitivity. My super ultimate ideology is that it's no AI take part in the battlefield at all. Because if it's earlier happens, it will be a very huge or tremendous destruction in this world. And from that skeleton, it has 7 states, right? I tried to use empirical legal research to do that skeleton, to cover all skeleton. Since the first day, I cut it. Oh, it's just 6 steps. I use a legal analysis to do that. And just this morning, I just cut to do just three first steps. And I do change my methodologies to the grounded theories. And the things that I deal with is just 2 things. The first thing is the state. And the other thing is artificial intelligence. And both of these things are too abstract. The state is abstract. Artificial is abstract in one way. It's not human dimension in this. I'm thinking about it this morning. This paper or my paper fit with this workshop or not. If we look at the 7 states, it's fit, but now it doesn't fit at all. I'm talking and discussion something about very ideology. And today my skeletons of presentations will be in the introduction. And the second one will be the classical principle of the Utrum in international trade law that I try to get the evidence back. It's only super classic one. And the third one will be the utilization of artificial intelligence warfare. And the next one will be state versus Utrum against artificial intelligence. And the next one will be questioning the neutrality of state in cyber warfare. And the last one is for overall conclusion. It's just preliminary conclusion. And since these 3 days, I just focus on my research question. Thank you very much for all of the questions discussed here. And these 3 days shaped me a lot. Shaped even the structure of my future paper, shape my thinking and shape my methodologies also. And I have just one main research question. It's how to operationalize artificial intelligence in warfare while maintaining state neutrality. State neutrality is not pushed only to the state, but put this state into AI. That is my thinking. And I keep asking all the time, and I always want your answers or from you. Are there any possibilities or feasibility study about it? If I just put the neutrality into the philosophical discussions or into AI system, is it possible or not? This is the only one question that I try to answer for the whole paper. And the recent developments of artificial intelligence warfare, it is advancing. It's a lot of new modern technology. especially its proliferation of warfare industry in the recent time. Even if its proliferation of warfare industry is, I would like to thank you very much for Dominica that show me the very complexity of that, and I decided this morning, if it will be not that much complexity if I just cut this factor out of my papers to do in the very concrete way, because I want to do just the global norm on AI and IHL, and then set the common framework of AI and IHL, and then impose to the state. I just want to do only these 3 stages. And the next one is weaponization of artificial intelligence. It's the development and its use. We widely accept that the artificial intelligence is actually used in the warfare. No one can argue with that. And it has a lot of recent developments also in terms of using artificial weapons in the battlefield, using by the militants in the battlefield, using by the governments or against governments, using by the belligerents. And the first paper, I'm also asking about who can control artificial intelligence in terms of warfare. It should be a business enterprise. It should be militant, or it should be the government. But when I'm thinking back, what happens when the war happens? It should be the full responsibilities of the state only. That's the reason why I cut 7 steps back to first 3 steps. Just want to impose the state should take less on every single warfare. I agree with Dominica, but I have to express my academic position that if you use that much public, private, or business and human rights in terms of warfare to analyze it, it means that the state never take any risk in terms of warfare, because only the state can declare the war. It's only the state can order the military. It's only the state can, I would like to invest in mercenaries. I think it's only the state should take full responsibility about this. And the next one, it will be not that much future debate on the legal status of artificial intelligence. And it has a lot of academic literature tries to prove it that it should be a person, or it should have any legal personality. If it happens with this, can we pose the punishment or the criminal responsibility directly to artificial intelligence? And it's another question, but I don't want to deal with it. It will be my second or my third paper. And then I'm trying to look at international humanitarian law, or of the international humanitarian law documents which relates to artificial intelligence. And the answers for it's very vacuum idea about this. Even it has now it has Tallinn manuals, but it's just the soft law. This is the time for the hard laws to govern these situations already. This is the Thailand manual. It's writing 2 chapters on neutrality, but I don't know exactly. It would be fit with the criteria of artificial intelligence or not. It seems it's just slightly different, but it's something developed faster than Thailand manuals can think about it. And another legal scholar on the reasonable robots, he also posed what is the artificial intelligence legal neutrality. But I'm also thinking the same that if it's fit with the AI condition in the time of warfare. And what happened with the future of artificial intelligence war equipment? From the business perspective, it will develop a lot because they get the benefits from that artificial intelligence or from the weapons. And then next, when I'm looking at the Utrums in international humanitarian law, and I got the definitions from International Race Course Committee. On the Handbook of International Race Course Committees, it states that neutrality describes the formal positions taken by a state, which is not participating in an armed conflict or which does not want to become involved. This status entails specific rights and duties. On the one hand, the neutral state has the right to stand apart from and not be adversely affected by the conflict. On the other hand, it has a duty of non-participation and impartiality. That is the very necessary component of the neutrality. And when I'm looking at the source of international neutrality law, that is the neutralities are customary international law. For international treaty, it also includes the Paris Declarations of 1856, the 1907 Hague Conventions number 5 respecting the right and duty of neutral power and persons in case of war on land. The 1907 Hague Conventions number 13 concerning the rights and duties of neutral power in naval war, and the 1949 Geneva Conventions, that additional protocol 1 of 1977. And if we think that this law of neutrality is customary international law, in terms of interpretation, it should be universality. But the problem always has happened in the case of the People's Republic of China. And the first thing that I don't want to talk that much about China, but it's just the literature review pop up, and it supports my arguments from the dissertations of Zhao Liang. Yeah, he working on his project on mercies of the Dragon, China engagement with international neutrality law. And these dissertations said that international humanitarian law with Chinese characters, that is another mystery word that we will facing as soon as possible. And international neutrality law with Chinese characteristics take shape with many factors, including traditional Chinese military culture, Chinese Marxist military culture, the Chinese concept of sovereignty, the Chinese pursuit of reputation, and the Chinese doctrines of warfare. If I have the time left after my presentation, I will tell you a secret story and a narrative story about my life 5 years in China. And so I started interested in artificial intelligence when I was a student of law at Tsinghua Law School, the People's Republic of China. That's why I spent like 6 hours per week to study at the Faculty of Law. And a part of that, I just spent my life at the Faculty of Engineering with my friends in the automation department just for 2 years. Then I take another step to be the first model of AI of Thai people. I spent like 5 days to go in the room, and they take like 36 cameras to keep looking at me with all my characteristics and appearance, starts from 7 in the morning until the night time. That's the reason why I think that, why it happened like this. I think the first time I think when I arrived at that industry, because Chinese government invests a lot in Chaoyang, close to the river in Beijing. It's very expensive land. I think it will be a super private company, but the staff there that who has invited me to be a model, he told me, nothing is belong to the private. It's state-owned enterprise. It means that Chinese invest a lot in this industry. This is another story that I can tell you, but another secret story in the military zone of China it will be super funny then. Okay, and then the type of neutrality has two kinds of neutrality. First one is temporary neutrality, and the second one is permanent neutrality. If I have a chance, no, that's not my chance. I have to publish this paper. If my global norm on AI and IHL happens, I will use only the permanent neutrality. It's not contemporary. And are there any real neutrality, artificial intelligence in terms of warfare? If we look at the philosophical discussions on AI, it will be posed, AI is justice. AI is equality. AI is non-discrimination, and AI is everything, no bias. Why we just pose neutrality into AI before producing the AI? Yeah. That is my point of this. Okay, this is the picture that the neutrality become the next factor will be a distinction. Another one will be impartiality. The next one will be discrimination. If we looking at the term of distinction, in this paper, I will use a lot of metaphor because the state neutrality is abstract. And artificial intelligence is also abstract. And the thing that I'm dealing with for the first part of this project, it will be human include, and it's for me when human include or human take part in anything. It will be very easy because humans make the decision. But when you deal just with state and artificial intelligence, it's not that easy because you don't know who control it. When it can control itself, what will happen to this world? The distinctions, in terms of distinction, the application of AI enhanced system for identifying military targets in country conflicts from requires on the distinction between civilians and combatants. But what will happen when AI become alert? And another thing is the principle of distinction, discrimination, or anything else. Another example is the principle of proportionality. I'm also thinking about what is the suitable or the proportionalities of artificial intelligence. It should be the same as the proportionality of the neutrality of state or not. And when I'm thinking about drafting my presentation, I have a lot of questions on this. And the next one is will be responsibility that I expressed my academic stand for already. State should take full responsibility, and state should take full accountability on harm of warfare. Every single thing that connects with the warfare, even AI, it should be the full responsibility of state. And this is the technology. 3D printing, nanotechnology, it will be a drone, it will be something else on AI. It will be a system, sensoring system, it will be a systematic aircraft, but this is the result of that. This is all the result of that. Why we don't control it before it has happened more than this. And this is the stakeholder. That's the first step I would like to do on the stakeholder. And thank you again to Dominica. It will be a very complex thing for me. That's the reason why I just go back to my focus. I just want to analyze it on the state only. And I want to define what is the base factors and what is the base component in my global norm on AI IHL. And if a global norm, I can set that global norm already. This will be a new framework that I pose to this. And the state, whatever you want to take it on, just take it and impose it into even private or public or administrative mechanism in your state. It's up to you. And this is the same. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Okay, but in practicalities, I think we have to deal with it. When I'm thinking about it, when my common framework of AI and IHL is come out already, how can it implement? Or it's just implement in this workshop only? Or it's implemented on just the academic circle of professor of international intermediate law? No, I don't want that. But it will spend a long time, like decades or 2 decades, to make it happen in this world. Okay. It will be a military structure. It will be developed into military artificial intelligence technology. It will be developed into the rational artificial intelligence technology, and it will be an emotional artificial intelligence technology. In one day, we cannot control it. If we didn't think about starting control it from now, we cannot control it at all. But this is my super negative side. But if you look at my friends, he just enjoy around his life. He is staying in Australia to work in the headquarters of Apple there, and then he moved to California to do something with Silicon Valley, something like that. It's something like that. And it's from my personal perspective, most of the automation engineers who has the direct duties to produce these kinds of artificial intelligence, they don't have even include the social aspect in their life. That I don't want to conclude that, but it's not easy because they like something super structured. They just work on their hands. For example, they just the company order them to, oh, you have to do the semiconductors. He just, okay, I just do the semiconductors all day. That's it. And it should be the global law rule are enough. Then my answer is it's not enough at all. Because as a lawyer, we cannot run as fast as artificial intelligence development. It's not easy. Okay, my paper will be published. Hopefully it will be published next 2 years. But the artificial intelligence weapons, it developed every single breed of us. I will tell you a super secret story in China, if I have time. Yeah. And now it needs a global hard rules. This is my conclusion. It needs a global hard rules. And to govern the manufacturers of military artificial intelligence, I don't have that much statistic, but I think it's, don't look at European countries. It's the mystery in Asia, in Thailand, in China. The most of military artificial intelligence industry belongs to the state. And the other thing is, there's no transparency at all. That this reality is in the global south. Okay, what happens if no neutrality in global warfare? If no neutrality in artificial intelligence weapons is war? If just one, it's just one artificial intelligence rifle alert, how many human injuries from that? Okay, what happens to this goal? Come to my super preliminary conclusions. It will be the time for that international lawyer. You have to speak with automation engineering. You have to speak with the lawmaker. You have to speak with robotical scientists to make these common frameworks for AI production. Okay. It will be a grounding norm, but it takes time, and I try to look at the classical international intermediate law as a model. But I'm thinking about what conditions is it fit or not. This is my next, my next process. But I'm still struggling with a ton of documents. Artificial intelligence, they publish more than 100,000 per day now, thousands paper. And international humanitarian law, it seems like they stop producing anything. They produce anything at all. International humanitarian law, I think. Yeah. It's easy for me to look at this. Okay, this classical international humanitarian law, it's finished. But the things that I have to do, it will be how to set the global norm and how to get in touch with the rapid developments of artificial intelligence. Okay, that is my sharing preliminary idea. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna focus on some of the legal aspects of your paper, and it may seem a bit kind of almost as a pick and choose.
Yes.
But it's a consequence of, it's a bit as if this is 4 papers in one.
Yeah.
And the lack of a concrete research question is clear also from the transition between the different sections of the paper, because the sections at this moment do not yet do not really like link to each other. But per section, I have some common. One way to link the sections, perhaps, but also for me, because I have a bit of trouble understanding the problem that you foresee, would be to have a hypothetical case study. If you foresee that there's some kind of problem that will arise in the future, or if something has already arisen, give a real life example that shows why the various legal aspects need to be addressed. You have a section on neutrality, and you link that to international humanitarian law. But neutrality itself is, of course, a concept that is not IHL. It's an ADBEL issue. And you have of course, the 1907 Hague Convention to have a pure IHL component, but it also has parts that are non-use of force or non-force. What I missed a bit in the section on neutrality, or what I struggled to understand where you were going, was whether you are advocating for the continuation or the resurgence of a very classic concept of neutrality, which at the moment is really only a naval warfare kind of still there.
Yeah.
Whilst in reality you see that globalization, neutrality seems to either maybe have lost its value, or it's morphed into more the concept of non-belligerency.
Yeah.
Because the real aspect that states are concerned about now is whether or not they're seen as a party to a conflict, not necessarily whether they're really still seen as neutral. The fact that states like Sweden and Finland were willing to kind of give up their non-alignment to now show NATO indicates that there's perhaps a movement there. But even if you look at a neutral state like Austria, where we're now, being a neutral state does not, and this is what I understand, one of the issues that you look at, doesn't mean that you can't produce weapons. Switzerland, the most known neutral state, is one of the biggest arms producers in the world. Switzerland has, because it uses a more kind of conservative notion of neutrality, has not provided Ukraine with any weapons anymore since 2014. But Austria, which also considers itself neutral, has not only until 2022, whilst there was already an international armed conflict between Russia and Ukraine, but before the 24th February 2022 invasion, has continued to supply Ukraine with weapons. But even after the full-scale invasion, it has allowed weapons to pass through its territory. There are things which may be an issue under neutrality, but just to flag that the production of weapons, at least in my understanding, so long as you then don't provide them to states that are engaged in an armed conflict, does not affect neutrality. And that's why I was trying to understand which way you were going with this, the calling upon an expansion of the neutral states, in order to, what you indicate, to promote the creation of more, as I understand, neutral states, which would thereafter encourage the establishment of neutral enterprises. Yeah. Just because a state may be a neutral state doesn't mean that they may not actually produce weapons that would incorporate AI. If that wouldn't be a problem necessarily. So I think that's something that you need to look at or make your mind up about. Is it about the really the weapon production that you are concerned about? Yes. Is it about neutrality, because and it's a very different topic when you start talking about cyber warfare. Is it about how you can maintain your neutrality? Because when you talk about cyber warfare, there I can really see kind of the issue with all the different servers in different countries, and is the fact that something passes through your country, would you by that way potentially give up, risk giving up your neutrality? And that's also what's addressed in the Italian menu. But that seems to be a very different topic than the other neutrality topic that you addressed. Now, you also focused on the fundamental principles of international humanitarian law. But that seemed to be more as a general description of how any kind of weapon that relies on AI should, at a minimum, operate. But if you're, as a neutral state, producing weapons that by definition violate IHL, because they're inherently indiscriminate, it's just as much a violation of your neutrality if you provide those to a state that's engaged in a conflict, as it would be if you give them a weapon that can be very discriminate. So I did not immediately see the place of that. And this is something I think that although you have already a lot of concepts that maybe should add or at least have a view on, because I would find it then at least easier to see where you intend to go, because you talk about the future. It's all about the future. That you talk about, you want to the slides, grounding norms on AI into warfare. Now, we know that there's a general challenge nowadays of creating new rules. States appear to be unwilling to come up with new binding rules, black letter rules. That's not just because we entered almost like kind of a new Cold War, but it had already been going on for a bit longer, and that's why we have these soft law instruments, like the expert name was the Thailand manual. And to advocate for something that may not work means that you may have to have some kind of backup, or because you said, I don't want something soft law, but at the same time, that may be the only option.
Yeah.
And I'll stop there. In terms of law, and then because I mentioned now the soft law, I think there's also you get these 7 steps, something that you will need to consider, or at least be more clear about whether you want to, because you talk about different layers, but whether you want to focus on all those layers, or rather really just we need international norms. But no, I'm just going to focus on we need potentially regional norms. The EU is setting norms. We have other, or really just we need domestic norms for companies that to at least help focus the paper a bit.
I have to confess that when I'm reading back my paper, I separate my paper myself this into another 2 papers, and from this part it will be another 2 papers. Yeah, the thing that I do, it's thank you very much. That is the same point. And the next thing that thank you very much for both Rogier and Bettina, that I will take non-residence to be my full considerations, to be my first paper on international military law. And the things that I want to take from state neutrality, it's just the characteristic of it. It's just the pattern, it's just the form and the essence of it to put into the artificial intelligence. that the questions that I'm dealing with like a years already. Are there any feasibility study about that? Yeah, but I'm answer myself that I can do it. Yeah, and I try to do it because there are some legal vacuum. There are no real definitions on AI. It's like two things that in the very blurring area merge together. I'm trying my best to do it in the very concrete way. When I'm doing in the very concrete way, I'm doing it with my ego. Oh, it needs to be a super concrete one. That's the reason why it's become my governor. And the next thing is I'm tying back to links and narrate my paper in the very proper way. I'm going to do a proper legal citations, and I'm going back to take the socio-technological law aspect into my full considerations of my paper. And now I think I have very focused ideas on it, but I need to spend my time more on your aspect that you give it to me. If any other suggesting book or article, feel free to email me. Yeah, and it's not easy to construct one law, and it's not easy to make it to a soft law. Even it's very difficult to make it a hard law, but the jurisprudence is another considerations about it. Okay, thank you.
Some good questions, and we already have.
My question actually is a bit similar to yours, which is concerning the definition of AI, your definition, because like the flavor we are right now is machine learning.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know, is it more about like machine learning or more like actual AI that you're talking about?
I should I answer this question? I'm not that engineering on that field, but I'm trying to answer it. If we look at just from legal perspective, it needs the concrete definitions to operate something, but this is combined with technological dimensions. I think AI in terms of international military law definition should be very broad and open space for another interpretation. Yeah.
Also, like different sides of AI, because it's true there are some different interpretations on what is actually AI. But if you like also include machine learning, you could also talk about neutrality in machine learning, because there are a lot of studies that lead a lot of projects where they try to implement it fail actually, because even if we did machine learning, no concrete points on where to, no concrete points, and you just give them samples and you say, for example, I don't know, there are a lot of prisoners, what do they all have in common, just to see who will, do the crime again and stuff, and then they machine learning actually chose criteria that we would never do, like the color of the skin, which was kind of a scandal. But it was not quite the machine who was like biased, but more like the police which arrested more people, and so I don't know, like. That's why machine learning maybe into thing to include in
Okay, thank you very much. So the AI is in legal definition. If I have a chance, no, I have to set that global norm. I'm thinking about this. It will be the first word that I have to include in the AI meaning. It will be the neutrality of machine learning with plus blah 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 and open statements.
So maybe to respond, AI is an umbrella term. So you can cover, depending on the context, if you want to be a politician, for you AI will be clear, for example, the threat that you use or in your NGO. So there are various techniques inside, human and white models. But I feel like obliged to respond to your presentation because I was called several times. So first, and for 3 or 4 comments, well, recruiting mercenaries is perfect. It's, I guess, under international or local conventional non-deterrent class. You can, maybe limit your visits to specific context. Then when it comes to your question, why we don't control AI before it's deployed, well, it is controlled. I'm not sure if all, but the vast majority of states have the export control regimes. Yeah. You can look into dual use regulation or the Basel arrangement. It is of course not binding, but states repeat these lists of weapons and dual use items in their legislations. The member states, the participant states are included not only the European Union states, but also UK and Russian Federation and the United States. Of course, China is not included, but they have their own control lists. And if you go into these control lists, well, actually you can find some mentioning of AI, depending how you define it. But for example, in the EU dual use regulation, you have positions of 9A012 and 9A112 that mention drone or unmanned aerial vehicles with autonomous functions.
Yeah.
Or you have the control of loitering munitions, which can also be applicable in the context of items that deploy artificial intelligence. And not only this export is controlled, but also the export of production, manufacturing, development phase, support in production, and so on. So this is controlled, and I cannot agree. But why don't we control it? We do control that. The next one, I didn't make it following that. All of the technologies that you mentioned, but this responds to your respondents' already comments, like semiconductors, 3D printers, nanotechnology, cyber warfare. This is a very broad category of technologies. Not all of them are AI. I would even argue that none of them are involving AI. And all of them are in some manner controlled when it comes to transfer to another state. And what's next? About transparency. Remember that when you are a manufacturer, or even if you are a state, you always have to balance between ensuring that your market is competitive on one hand, and on these beautiful arguments humanizing the development of all these umbrella terms under artificial intelligence. So, yeah, it's nice to argue in its second vein, but you have to be practical. As a lawyer, you cannot invent rules, you cannot argue, oh, we should be, because what I have expressed, my reflection after hearing you was that, oh my God, AI is something that will kill us all, and we have no control over it. States are evil, manufacturers are evil because they are secret in their transactions, and in practice it is not. I recommend you to go into web pages of the biggest manufacturers when it comes to those that develop artificial intelligence items, enabled items, and you can have a list of all their products that have some kind of description of autonomy, I would set aside that manufacturers may claim autonomy with automation and they simply want to be competitive. Maybe also care about their reputation, but they need to be competitive, and states don't only have to control and protect compliance with IHL or international human rights law, but they also need to care about their industry. And that with that I will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to express that I don't have any negative aspect with AI, because in my house I use iRobot. I use every single thing robot to help me in the daily life. Really, yes. That's it.
I found it interesting that you have chosen neutrality as a legal parameter in your analysis. And I wanted to give some comments on that, because neutrality is a difficult legal parameter, because it is based on conventional law. We have two conventions, as you know, the 13th and the 5th of 1907, the conventions. They didn't receive so many ratifications, and they're very patchy, they're very incomplete. They regulate the matter here and there. For instance, there is almost nothing in the convention of economic neutrality, which has been developed afterwards as a part of customary law. So you have on the one hand the conventional rules, not very widely ratified, and you have a conventional a customary development, which is not so stable and has changed in time, especially after the adoption of UN Charter, as you briefly mentioned in your paper. So I wanted to highlight the difficulty of the legal parameter that you have chosen, but I find it promising and I find it interesting that you've chosen this legal parameter. And the other point I wanted to make is we recently, with a colleague of mine, did some research on neutrality and the way neutrality was approached by states providing weapons to Ukraine. Essentially, the result of the analysis is that there is a clear divide between states having neutrality in their constitutional legal order, or having a traditional neutrality, and other states. So the second typology of states, they don't consider neutrality if not very vaguely and in a political manner. The other states with a constitutional legal order and taking neutrality for a traditional neutrality, they consider neutrality in their policy. So I would advise you to consider specifically Switzerland, Austria, Moldova, Malta, Ireland as potential actors with a practice which could be significant. On the other hand, several European states went through parliamentary debates, did not even consider neutrality under customary law when deciding to provide weapons to Ukraine. We investigated also the position of the Russian Federation, because the Russian Federation would have an interest in replying in the sense that there could be breaches of neutrality, and we were not able to find any statement by the Russian Federation evoking clearly neutrality, if not for one statement before the Security Council after we published the article. So that is the point. But it's promising. I think it's an interesting angle for artificial intelligence.
Switzerland is the president. Switzerland is still the president of United Nations Security Council.
I didn't hear, sorry.
Switzerland now is still the president of Security and Security Council. But
of course, we all know there's been a debate. It's interesting to understand to what extent such debate is influenced by international law or not. Whether it's a truly constitutional debate or a constitutional debate informed by international obligations. And that is for the Swiss colleagues.
If I may react, Switzerland considers its neutrality domestic law based, so it's on constitution based. It attached itself on international law in order to have more leeway to react. Even though, it stands towards Ukraine, points towards international law, but they say it is a constitutional.
That was the impression I had.
Okay, so thank you very much. Like you knew ahead of the presentation was particularly interesting for me because I spent the last 5 years working in NI and cybersecurity. So, if I may, I would like to help you with narrowing it down. And the way as a non-legal scholar would do it is coming from a subject matter point of view, but also looking at kind of global developments at the time. So we're going through a phase where various countries, as well as the European Union, have attempted to regulate AI. So we've just seen the European AI Act come into force. Now, as you will know, there's a sectoral exception for the defense sector for one reason or another. But I do think that the logic that's being applied is one that's down to the nature of that very technology. So you have one general definition of AI there, which is something you may want to borrow, even though it's very broad. But then the way different uses of AI are regulated is per use cases, because it is being recognized that in each of the use cases, AI has very different implications. Like, for example, the skin color example that you gave is only a problem in certain use cases. In other use cases, completely irrelevant. So that's the logic of the AI Act. It also comes with the problem of implementation. Now, who has got to implement it? Target audience with the AI Act are typically not states, but it's the industries. And most, even in the defense sector, AI technology will be developed in the defense industry. Now, how does the industry work? It has sectoral norms that are not legal norms, but something that's agreed upon, like ISO standards, for instance. So, if you want to look deeper into definitions that are commonly accepted, even globally, go into NIST, so that's the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or ISO norms. There's a few ISO norms that ISO norms that kind of deal with it. So that's the kind of definitional aspect. And then you don't need to become an AI specialist. Then I would recommend.
I'm just fun with it.
I would recommend that you get a very basic understanding, at least of the kind of very basic 7 types of AI that we have. So you do want to decide whether you're going to deal with machine learning, with natural language processing, with expert systems, speech recognition, vision, computer vision, as for example. It's interesting in drones because they recognize patterns on the ground and process that information. Now, given the kind of sectoral approach that we see in the AI Act, I would highly recommend that within the domain of IHL, you focus on one type of AI and on one type of use. Now, cyber is probably not going to be it, because cyber in and by itself is so big. You have cyber as a domain of operation, and then cyber as a kind of supportive function. And even within cyber, you will find all of the 7 types of AI, and you're going to have a really hard time trying to find them. But why not look into specific types of weapon systems? Do they use AI in the decision-making process? Or the use of AI in reconnaissance? If you think about it, kind of terms like a battlefield, and then you narrow it down on one aspect, and you look at one type of AI in that field, I think it will help you very much direct your research question and also narrow down that humongous body of journal articles and blog posts and blog posts and whatnot that's being published every day. So I feel it. You know, every one of us has been there. There's just so much out there. You need to get a grip on it. And so, as interesting as it is to fly around, I think focusing on one type of AI, one type of use, that could really help you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.